feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's
Fun.
Open wide for some soccer.
I don't care what you think about what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the
Call
Cowboys.
this college rule.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. Dom and Chris here, and as always, before we begin, make sure you do the like, follow, subscribe, and share all over social media for these accounts, as well as the Sports Experience Podcast. Come on to YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Give us a like, a follow, and even comment. Tell us what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, even suggestions for future episodes if you're into it. Also, we're recording down here at Angle Studio in downtown Tucson for all of your audio needs. And Chris, who do we got today?
We're on the hardwood. We're talking about Clyde the Glide Drexler, somebody that I feel like gets a little bit overshadowed by one Michael J.
The era he played in.
Yep, the
position
era
he played.
All of it. All of it.
It just
being a bald man. All of it.
He was once not bald.
Yes.
Though he didn't necessarily, he Costanza'd it for a little bit.
He definitely did. That was back when NBA players just didn't straight up shave it. They were like, I'm a bald man. And everyone's like, dude, just shave it.
When Michael Jordan came out, everyone was just like, thank you, Michael.
Yep.
Just
Change the game.
Change the game. But talking about Clyde the Glide Drexler today, born June 22nd, 1962 in New Orleans, Louisiana, the fourth of seven kids to Eunice and Jake, and was into all sports as a kid, including martial arts.
Yep.
Our second martial artist that we've covered, like Sandy Alomar.
Well, we don't get a lot of those, especially from this time, but he was definitely karate kicking his way back then. So.
I mean, he would have picked on every douchebag Guido and said, give me your crank kick. I'm
That's true.
6'7".
That's true.
Come on. I don't see Mr. Miyagi here. Let's go.
Also, another guy that was cut early in basketball.
Freddie McGriff, Michael Jordan.
It's so interesting when you see this where it's like, I wonder if it just really doubles down their their work, or do they hit that growth spurt? That was the other thing I was thinking about, because it didn't really tell me like when he became 6'6", 6'7", but like he gets cut as a sophomore and then becomes the best player on his team.
Well, what's weird is, so he moves to Houston. He spends like his whole life in Houston, and we'll discuss that as we keep going.
He moves to Houston.
Grows up playing basketball with his older brother James, and just like on the city courts, and basically playing against kids older than him, just toughening him up.
Yep.
But he goes when he goes to Sterling High School, I believe, in Houston. There, he has a 7-inch growth spurt before his sophomore year. He couldn't, you know why he was cut? He couldn't pass the conditioning test.
Oh yeah, because he was so
He couldn't do 25 push-ups.
yeah.
You can't even do one sit-up. But he was still playing at lunchtime against all of the guys on the varsity and just absolutely working them. So
well, you see this when guys get that. I like that you found when he had that growth spurt, because you see when guys hit that and they're just like, my body's not coordinated anymore. And I imagine it was something like that but yeah, he becomes the best player in his high school team over his junior and senior years.
his mom told him not to have a grudge about getting cut. And all the players were begging the coaches after like playing against him at lunch, like, come on, like,
well,
push up.
He's 6'6".
How many push-ups? Yeah, how many push-ups are you going to do?
You know what I mean?
In a game, like in a given game, like, do you go to the free throw line? I'm like, wait, I got to get a quick 5 in.
Yep.
But
He did.
He had one game where he scored 34 points and had 27 boards against Sharpstown High School. And he's known in the Houston area, but he's not like a super great, like, he has D1 college offers, but they're not from like
But they're
D1
from
Blue Bloods.
They're from the Southwest. So
Yeah.
it's like University of New Mexico, University of Houston. So it's like literally the biggest teams in the Southwest, which are not shit at this point. You know what I mean?
Houston is building something, but
Yes.
they're not like a North Carolina, a Duke, like a UCLA, a nationally renowned. I mean, they're big. They're big in Texas.
They're big. Yes. So he is heavily scouted in this small region, I feel like.
One of his friends he played against in high school, Michael Young, ends up going to Houston.
Yep.
And the head coach, Guy Lewis, basically asked him, who's the best guy you played against in high school? And Young told him Clyde Drexler. Mm-hmm. So when he tells him Clyde Drexler, he's almost the throw-in in the trying to get Young. Okay, well, you could bring your friend too. And apparently Lewis had said fans were so pissed at this no-name Drexler that they were sending him hate mail.
Yes, he got hate mail because they felt like it was one of these things like, we're going to get Young and his friend.
Yeah.
And then, like, in retrospect, you're just like, oh, he was the best that you could have gotten. Like, it's crazy how good he was.
It's insane, but, like, just the mentality to hate something so much, you sit down at a desk with a pen. I mean, it's not just like a keyboarder of, you got to really be like, God dang it, Clyde Drexler.
You got to do it on carbon paper so you have a copy for yourself.
Well, I mean, you have to take notes on yourself. That's the only way you get better at writing hate mail, with carbon paper.
You know, your first hate mail letter isn't going to be great. Your 20th, it's going to affect somebody's life.
10,000 hours, Chris.
Yes, that's what you need. And I'll tell you what, in Houston, they got those hours.
Yes, they got those hours. It seems like an hours type of city.
It seems like a...
So in 80-81, his freshman season, the guy that was just a throw-in starts 30 games as a freshman.
Yep.
That year, along with Young and Rob Williams and Larry Mishaw, they go 21-9, so they have a solid season. They lose in the first round to Villanova, and they're the Southwestern Conference tournament champs. But the next year, you get Hakeem Olajuwon.
And now a good team becomes a great team. Because that first season, they were good, bunch of young guys. Mm-hmm. And now they become the fraternity. Get that out of here. Now they become the fraternity that we all know of the Phi Slamma Jamma.
That's right.
And it really is this group of guys who really just attack the rim. Just a lot of one-on-one.
Up-tempo type of exciting basketball with an absolute monster in the paint.
Well, and then I saw this where somebody said that Clyde was one of the best outlet passers. So
yes.
he's a great rebounder. He's going to get you 8 rebounds a game, and then he's going to get you that first outlet pass that might not be the assist, but it's literally the fast break that starts everything.
And by the way, he's good at everything.
Oh my, yes.
Like as a
defense,
6'7" shooting
everything.
guard, small forward, defense, outlet passing, shooting, scoring, everything you want this guy. And his dunks, though, Chris.
Oh,
it's
my
the
God.
dunks that are so amazing.
You don't got to tell me.
They were a dunking fraternity. I saw that their initiation was hilariously, they had stand somebody under the rim, and Clyde runs from half court and dunks over them.
Yep.
Which is just like
awesome.
A lot better than a lot of other fraternity initiations.
A lot less gay.
You're my boy, Blue. Anyway, 81-82. Yep. The average is 15, 10, and 3 a game as far as points, rebounds, and assists. They start rolling through the NCAA tournament. They end up beating Alcorn State, then Tulsa by 4, Missouri by 1, beat Boston College in the Elite 8, and go to the Final Four in New Orleans this year.
Against North Carolina.
Against who is on that North Carolina team?
One, and this is, it's so interesting how these guys meet up with each other so much, but one, Michael J.
That's right.
And it's literally because I was thinking about this, and there's a lot of guys you can talk about with, like, Michael Jordan has prevented guys from getting championships.
Half of the dream team.
But literally, you look at what Clyde could have done where you're just like, oh, yeah, he could have had one with the Blazers. He could have had a national championship in this season, especially because they looked so good. And then he probably could have had another. It's
he could have stayed another season like Hakeem did, and then maybe
exactly. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. So he runs it to the old Michael Jordan, and
they had a bad shooting day in this.
I was just gonna say they were just not.
Day.
Yeah, they just weren't hitting it. They weren't. Credit to North Carolina, who probably just took them out of their game.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they end up losing in the Final Four to what people thought, or but pretty much what they were saying. They were like, well, those were the two best teams.
Williams had a bad shooting day, I think, in that game. 82-83, though, they're the top team.
Yes,
I mean,
number one.
And when you say number one, literally ranked number one almost the entire season at the end of the regular season.
Yep.
Averages almost 16 points, 9 rebounds, and 3.8 assists a game. And when we go to the pros, he has like a set of stats where you can just bank on him every single year to do that as a shooting guard, which is ridiculous.
Well, when you think of like the most valuable player, those are the kind of stats that are like what you want. You're just like, oh, he has good stats in every column.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah.
finished 31-3. They're undefeated in the Southwest Conference, so they don't even lose a conference game. They go into the tournament and just start kicking the crap out of people till they get to the Final Four. They're in Albuquerque. They play Louisville, who are known as the Doctors of Dunk.
Yeah, so it's...
And Clyde has some amazing dunks in this game.
And people say this is one of the best, and they pretty much, like, it's almost like an NBA All-Star game where they're just like, no, you dunk it, and then I'll show you how I dunk it. Like, it's a
Defense,
wild game.
What is that?
Exactly.
Because, mind you, I don't think the shot clock is a thing in college basketball yet.
Yeah.
So the score of this semifinal game that Houston won was 94-81 without a. That warms my heart, like, as far as exciting. And, well, they run into NC State in the final, who slow the game down, and Clyde does not have a particularly great day.
He has a really bad game.
Now.
And that's something that kind of, when you look at it, where you're just like, yeah, that's kind of rough that they didn't win that one, where he had 4 fouls in the first half.
Barely played the first half.
Exactly.
And second half. I mean,
and second half,
yeah.
I think he shot like 2 for 5. It was really a bad game.
4 points total.
Yeah.
And they lose by 2 points. If you have Drexler the first half, I mean, that's probably the difference in the entire game.
Yep.
Regardless, though, 82-83 Southwest Conference Player of the Year and a first team census All-American. Clyde doesn't want to go back to school, and I don't blame him.
I don't
'cause
blame
he's
him.
a very hot commodity.
Yep. He's going to be a great first-round pick, so he declares 83 draft. Who does he get?
So he's picked 14th by Portland.
Yep.
I did want to add, though, he's the only guy still in the history of Houston Cougars basketball, with over 1,000 points, over 900 rebounds, and over 300 assists, and is still the all-time steals leader.
Oh, yeah. That's something that gets overlooked. He is one of those lockdown steal defenders that you have. Yeah, geez. He is such a great college player, getting into it.
But he dunks like Jordan. I mean, you're just like, your name happens not to be that.
Yep.
But first season with the Blazers, averaging 17 minutes a game, playing off guard now.
Almost 8 points.
Yep.
Yeah. Regular rookie season, when you look at it, you're just like, oh, okay, this guy could be something.
Lose to the Suns in 5 in the first round. But then we get into 84 in a very pivotal moment in the history of Clyde Drexler, the Portland Trail Blazers, and basically the NBA itself. In the 84 draft, they lose a coin toss to the Rockets, who hold the number 1 pick now. And the Blazers, much like Houston, want a center. They want a center.
And they want to meet up 2 guys.
Yes, right there. They want to meet up Hakeem and Clyde, because Hakeem is going to be the number 1 pick. Go listen to that episode. And what happens, Chris?
They lose the flip. Houston takes Hakeem, and it's interesting because Portland does become good, but you wonder if Clyde and Hakeem match up at this time in their careers.
Well, number 1, you don't need Sabone's zone, but number 2, that by Kareem. I mean, the Showtime Lakers, they'll go to the finals and stuff, but they're not making it every
year.
Single year.
Exactly.
Like where Hakeem and Ralph Sampson had like a one-off, it would be like Hakeem and Drexler.
Yeah.
Or as we talked about with the Rockets, their plan was Houston trading up. You get Michael Jordan there. Because Portland was going to give him Ralph Sampson and the number 2 pick. So
geez.
Or they wanted Ralph Sampson.
It's just one of those. It's just one of those what ifs. Portland doesn't get a bad center. We know that.
Sam Bowie was a very talented player. It just never was healthy.
It just didn't work out. That's the thing that.
Well, who was the pick after Sam Bowie at number 3?
Old Jay.
But
that's the thing that it's so tough, because you look at teams that get lucky with those picks, not necessarily being like they're the best player. They're like, oh, they stayed healthy throughout their career and that kind of shit.
Flip-flop Portland and Chicago. I bet you Chicago takes Sam Bowie.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Or if Chicago had the number 1 pick, they take Hakeem.
They
undoubtedly, because that was just the way the NBA worked.
And it just looked, that looked in that era, that was like silly if you were going to take Jordan over them.
Well, and this talking was they didn't want Jordan also because they had Clyde Drexler playing shooting guard and a bunch of other dudes on the team who played that position.
So they had no need for it.
I mean, Then again, there's always room for number 23.
Well,
sometimes 45, but always 23.
That's the thing with which you don't know and which is so rough. Even if you look at NBA nowadays, you look at like the number 1 picks, they're just like, oh yeah, they've almost all been busts.
Yeah. Not everyone just walks in like Hakeem or Tim Duncan, like, guys, I'm going to take care of it.
Yep.
I'm going to take care of it. 84-85, averaging almost 32 minutes now. This is when he's a star.
Yes.
This is when he becomes a star. Over 17 and 6 rebounds a game. 5.5 assists. He's not even your point guard, and he's averaging that many assists.
And you see that throughout where he goes through seasons where it's like 28 and 5. And you're just like, I love those stat lines. 28 and 5 and 2 steals. He's almost averages 2 steals like a season. You're just like, that's exactly what I want.
But he's playing in Portland. It's not like he's playing in a larger market or a city like Houston at this time where he's absolutely beloved. You know, and that's his hometown.
Yep.
Beat the Mavs in the first round, but lose to the Lakers 4-1 there in 85. I think the Lakers won the title that year. But from 85 to 89, now he's one of the 10 best players in the NBA, you could argue.
Yep. All-star every year. He's getting
He had 8 assists in 85, 86 a game.
Yep.
8 assists!
He's getting these comparisons to like the greater players. So I'm just saying, like, this is a Trailblazers team that really is.
They're in the mix every year.
Yes.
They're top to bottom, and they're starting to build kind of together. 87-88, he had a 51% field goal percentage from the field, so he can shoot. 88-89, 27, 8, and 3. Are you freaking kidding me?
That's what I mean.
And that's ridiculous. That was that overall, though, he averaged over that 4-year span almost 6.6 rebounds and 6.6 assists. That's almost a half a decade worth of basketball. He's putting up these numbers and leading the Blazers to the playoffs every single year, but they're massively failing.
Yes, they're not getting through really to where they think they should be. That's the other thing is like there is a lot of potential on this team. We get to 89-90.
Yeah, so in all of those seasons I did want to add, so they lose in the first round.
Yep.
Losing the first round. Losing the first round. It's not even they're making these deep postseason runs.
No, they're just have
like,
nothing.
We're out in at least 5 games.
Yep.
But like you said, 89-90, now they've put a team together.
Shit kind of turns around. He literally has one of his better seasons. He's averaging 20, almost 24, almost 7 rebounds, almost 6 assists.
It's ridiculous.
So you just look at all of these stat lines where you're just like, okay, now he's leading them to this finals.
And they have a good mix of young and old. They find Rick Adelman is their new coach, who stepped in that season. They're in 89. They got Terry Porter, Jerome Kersey, Kevin Duckworth, and Brian Buck Williams in the front court, who they got from New Jersey.
And, you know, everybody's quacking at Duckworth.
That's very true. Cliff Robinson and Drazen Petrovic.
Yep.
I wish they kept Petrovic, dude, instead of sending him to New Jersey.
Yeah.
My God. They go 59-23, though, this year. They sweep in the first round. The second round, San Antonio takes them to the limit. This was the David Robinson series we talked about in that episode where they take him to 7 and Portland almost loses.
Yes.
Portland almost loses after sweeping Dallas. And then they go to the Western Conference Finals against the Suns.
Yep. Beat the Suns in, 6?
Yeah, 6 games.
Yep.
First finals since 76-77.
Yeah, their first conference final win since 77. And they end up going against just a better, more experienced Piston team.
Yeah.
That's what everybody kind of says is just like, this is a Piston team that's been there. They've done it.
They're just mad at this point.
They're just mad.
Look, we finally got through Boston and LA. None of you fucking matter anymore.
Yep. Because really, I mean, if you look at it, this Trailblazers, this is the first time they've even won playoff series. You know what I mean? So they go up against the Pistons. They end up losing.
4-1. I mean, they lost their last 2 games.
After they just weren't really ever in it. You know?
Following season was even better as far as the regular season. Mind you, he's making the All-Star team, and this is when making All-Star teams in the NBA was like much harder to do, and the level of talent was much higher as far as basketball is concerned. They go 60. They don't even lose 20 games. They go 63-19.
Franchise record. So this is the other thing is everybody's like, all right, here we go. Blazers are coming in 90-91. They are heavily favored in the playoffs.
They're heavily favored. They take down Seattle in 5, the Jazz in 5.
Mm-hmm.
Then they play the Lakers. And in what was Showtime's last run,
yep,
they beat them. They beat them in 6.
And that's a lot of people did not think this was going to happen, especially with the Lakers being at the last end of their,
Yeah, that was just one last gasp.
Yep.
And then we all know what happened to Magic after this season.
He went on to become a superhero.
Yes, he did. He did. 91-92, All-NBA first team.
Yes.
Possibly should have won the MVP, but we'll get to what happens in the finals. And
I was just going to say it's a tough one because, obviously he loses against Michael Jordan.
Let me just say this, though. For 25 points a game, 6.6 rebounds, 6.7 assists, 1.8 steals a game, and you're not even sniffing MVP.
Yeah, well.
They're number 1 in the West. They beat the Lakers. Then they beat 91-92, and then they go to beat. They hadn't beat the Lakers in 4 series in a row. Excuse me.
Yeah.
That was what I was going to say. They beat the Suns in 5, and then we get them in the Western Conference Finals against a new team,
against the Jazz,
against some Stockton to Malone action.
That's right. Place where they don't even allow music.
Not even music. No, for Rip City, not a chance. But they do end up winning. They do end up winning.
Beating him in 6, and a matchup that a lot of people were hyping, where it was like the number 1 versus number 2 shooting guards in the game, and they end up facing this Chicago Bulls that. I can't deny.
It's the Jordan, what do you have, 8 threes, and he just shrugs and walks away?
Yes. In the whatever documentary that he was doing, Magic has that.
Dance,
Magic has that interview. He's just like, we're playing cards the night before, and he just goes, you know what I'm going to do to him. And he just literally just loads up threes and just launches them. And,
Magic probably said one positive thing about Clyde Drexler, and Jordan was like, I took that personally.
You know I do that.
You know what I'm going to do. It's like, do you have to all the time?
Yep.
I'm sure those aliens from Moron Mountain were nice people, Michael. I'm sure they had families and jobs.
Turns out Michael Jordan was the bad guy in Space Jam.
Oh, my God.
We didn't know this all along.
Recut a trailer of that where he's the bad guy. All the Toon Squad's doing horrible things. He's like,
and that really set me off.
Yeah. You know what set me off? Not slavery.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh, more
92, we get to, they end up losing to the Bulls in the finals. Jordan takes MVP.
Space. But that summer, though, he's part of the greatest basketball team ever assembled.
Exactly. He is pretty much the number two guard behind Jordan. And yeah, he's part of the dream team. Everybody knows the dream team lives that dream.
You think there was that moment, in Talladega Nights with Cal, maybe there's that one time I could win?
Maybe you could slingshot me to the front.
I know, I'm just going to bury it deep down inside.
That's silly. I don't even know why I was even saying that, Jordan.
Next season has some knee and hamstring issues, though, so he's only limited to less than 50 games. Losing the first round of the Spurs, so either you're out in the first or you're making a deep postseason run. If you're
First or last.
I got to lay off the peyote.
Yeah.
93-94, 19.2 points a game, 6.5 rebounds, almost 5 assists. So he's been in the league now for 10 years, and he's still almost averaging 26 and 5.
Yep. And he is to be considered because you just see him in the shadow of Jordan, one of the best shooting guards in this era. So there's no question about that with what he's doing with the Trailblazers. But in this era in this time with the Trailblazers, they make a decision as a franchise. They're just we're gonna start trading important pieces. Ducksworth, he goes to start a law firm.
That's right. And then fund a youth hockey team until he doesn't.
That's right. Until he, which was pretty harsh for those kids, but that's fine.
It's not fair. It's not fair. If you live on one side of the lake, you have to play for District 5.
It's true.
So
you have to play. He's an old family friend.
Of course, they're old family friends there. Oh, gosh. So, 94, 95, though, after making the All-Star team 2 years in a row, like you said, Portland's made the playoffs every single year he's been there, too. Yep. They just aren't breaking through, and they're like, look, let's rebuild. We got Sabone Zone coming in. We got some guys who are coming out of the California Penal Basketball League ready to start some Jailblazer stuff.
Well, they just definitely made that decision, and he, to his credit, was like, I want to be traded to a contender. So he said he was like, I wasn't against finishing my career at the Trailblazers, but over the next like 3 or 4 years, we were not going to be contenders.
It's like Messier when everyone like even stayed after Gretzky, but when they started getting rid of like Graves and like the other important players, he's like, what am I even doing here?
Exactly. It's just like, this isn't.
And he won a bunch. Drexler's never won an NBA championship before.
Yeah.
So he starts 41 games for Portland out the gate that year. Still productive, 22, 6-5, but February 14th, Valentine's Day, he gets sent a choose you card from his hometown Houston Rockets in a trade with Tracy Murray for Otis Thorpe, draft rights for Marcello Nicola, and a 95 first-round pick. And,
well, the Rockets are coming off a championship.
Obviously.
And let me say this before so Clyde leaves the Blazers as their all-time scorer. He's not currently their all-time scorer. No.
Damian Lillard, I mean. Plus, he played a lot longer than Clyde
yes,
did there.
Dame time played a lot longer. So he had 18,000 points, 18,040. But he gets traded to the Rockets. And so just thinking about this is a championship team, and they're trading Otis Thorpe, who was like a key part in their team.
It's not only, sorry, keep going.
They were the players on the team were like, why are we making this trade?
Well, not only that, they were like a mid-team around this time in the Western Conference.
They were not great.
They were struggling mightily. They're not the cream rising to the top.
Well, they're definitely.
Oh yeah.
All right, Dingleberry. My name's David Harry. It's my favorite fucking joke. Oh man, but they really weren't like returning champs like in the first or second seed. They're in like 5th, 6th, 7th. They're really not doing great. So you're right. They needed a shakeup. The players felt like, why are we bringing this guy in?
The only guy who defended him was who though?
Hakeem. Who was just like, he's gonna come. He's a winner. We're gonna win.
Do you guys not know who this is?
Yes. But they said when he came in, they did not like him. Robert Horry, a couple other players were like, I did not like him. I felt like he was like telling him what to do. He's like, who's this guy telling me what to do? I'm a champion. Kind of like that kind of mentality.
Yeah, but y'all are surrounded by Hakeem, and you've won before. Portland's a little bit different, but by that same token, you can have some reservations because we're going to run it back. But when 34 tells you this guy can play, he was on the dream team. Robert Horry, were you on the dream team?
Well, it was one of those where when he first came in, they said the chemistry just wasn't there. And then you could see it click at the end of the season in the beginning of the playoffs.
So they go in as a 6th seed, but they're not a traditional 6th seed as far as they were rolling by the time April started.
That's exactly.
So they had they're almost a month transition, and then they're rolling, and you're like, fuck.
They're almost a different team, and that's what people are saying. Like when you see them in this playoffs, they win so many away games in this playoffs. But that's what everybody was saying. They were like, if you look at the teams, it looks like two different teams.
This is a very depressing playoffs for young Dom. I do remember how freaking good this Rockets team was.
Yeah.
But first round they play the Jazz. In game 4, facing elimination, he drops 41.
Yep.
Hakeem drops 40. They stay alive to win game 5 to go to the next round. They're down 3-1 against the Suns. I will never figure out how the hell they came back in this series. It's ridiculous.
And this was the probably one of the better Suns teams.
This is one of the most underrated playoff series.
Yeah.
It's not an NBA Finals.
Where they go 3 straight and beat the Suns. And 2 of those were away games.
Barkley. Yeah, that's true.
So it's like that was the other thing that you were like they keep losing so many in the beginning and then have to win all of these away games.
They go to the conference finals. This is the Hakeem and Robinson clash between the two. Robinson had won MVP, but But Hakeem just takes over the entire series. Not to say that Clyde and his teammates didn't do anything, but I mean, this was like Olajuwon completely illustrating how dominant
he was. Yes,
like this
definitely
is him in his prime. And they go to the finals and play a team and a guy with a penis.
Well, they play a team that I feel like kind of gets overlooked, where it's Penny Hardaway, Horace Grant, and one Shaquille, I want to see your penis O'Neal.
We just want it. That's all we want, Shaq.
That team was so good, and they got absolutely housed by the Rockets.
I mean, granted, Nick Anderson choked very hard.
Nick Anderson choked. That's
in game
fine.
1.
That's fine.
But the rest of the games, and I think Orlando was feeling a little, 47-35 in the regular season. This Rockets team.
Yeah.
Oh, but they added Clyde Drexler. That means they're not. Excuse me?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, bitch.
They sweep the Magic, and then the Magic is never.
They're never the same.
No.
They ruined
they ruined basketball in Orlando.
They ruined Grant Hill's legs.
Oh yeah, Jesus.
Oh man, Tim Duncan was probably why he's like, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
I'm just not going.
I'm not going to go. I refuse.
95, 96. He's battling some knee and some ankle issues, but granted, he's like 33.
Time catches up to him now.
Still an all-star, still averaging almost 27 and almost 6 assists. He's averaging almost 6 assists as a 33, 34-year-old man.
Yep.
Like, they beat the Lakers in 4. They unfortunately get swept by Seattle in round 2. This is the Sean Kemp.
And
Gary
the glove.
The love glove.
Mm-hmm.
96, 97, he has a new teammate there in Houston with Hakeem, Charles Barkley. They started 21-2.
And there was thoughts that there was thought that trio was just going to dominate, and there was going to be no stopping him.
You would have thought that. In 62 games, he's 18-6-6, essentially. 57-25. They eventually they sweep the T-Wolves and their buddy Stephon Marbury. They almost suffer a 3-1 series collapse like the Suns did. They did this against the Sonics. They ended up winning. And then they go to the Western Conference Finals against a team where they don't allow music.
And this is where the Jazz really put it together. So Karl Malone and Stockton are just...
Stockton had the game-winning 3 in Game 6.
You can't deny the pick and roll that they do. It's so ridiculous.
The pick and roll, the pick and tween, maybe? That's the Karl Malone move.
That's the Karl Malone move. Stockton's
like, Carl, you're on your own, buddy.
You're on your own, bud.
97, 98, he's 35, 36. Who outside Jordan is dropping 18, 5, and 5 at that age?
Really, though?
Plays 70 games. He has a partially torn triceps, but plays through that this year, which speaks to the guy's toughness. They end up losing in round 1 to the Jazz, and he gets a standing ovation at the Delta Center in Game 5, which I thought was pretty nice.
Yeah.
And, well, after that, he just retires.
I was going to say, you can just kind of feel like he was going to retire with that injury. It's that time.
And he had discussed, like, I wanted to leave when I was on, like, close to the top of my game, too. He didn't want to, like, stick around for extra seasons.
And be like a 6th, 7th, 8th man and that kind of shit.
Riding the bench. Like, no, I've put in the work. I've put in all of these seasons.
I have a championship now.
Have a championship. For his career, over 20 points a game, over 6 rebounds, almost 6 assists, 10-time All-Star.
Yep.
50th and 75th anniversary teams for the NBA. NBA champion, 5 times All-NBA. Gold medalist at the Summer Olympics. He's inducted into the Hall of Fame, Naismith Hall of Fame twice on that team. Like a couple of guys we've talked about.
Yeah, on Dream Team. Yeah.
And he really changed the game as a backcourt player. It's almost like Jordan.
Like Jordan.
But, 6'7", over 200 pounds, who does everything.
Yeah. Who was, like, almost looked at as an anomaly, like, what position do we play him in? And it's like, obviously you just play him as the 2 guard and let him...
You just play him.
One of the best facts that I almost forgot about was when he joined the Rockets, he was the active player with the most playoff points without ever winning any kind of championship. And then he went to the Rockets, and he was just like, all right, I need to win this one. So then that's what we mean. Like the Blazers, he had taken them to the playoffs every single year.
He never missed the playoffs his whole career.
And they just couldn't push it through. So he had to team up with his main man, Hakeem.
That's right.
And they got that well-deserved championship.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. 100%. Pulse basketball, he coached Houston for
I
a
saw
couple
that.
of seasons.
Yeah,
I remember
I thought that was
I
cool.
totally forgot about that till I looked it back up again.
99 to like 2001, he coached University of Houston, which is that's just fun.
But it's cool to talk about him because like you remember like growing up, you're like, yeah, he is really good.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he played for Portland. Oh, that's why.
Yep.
But I mean,
that's why I never saw him on TV.
exactly. Outside of the finals with Jordan and the bad boys. But no, Clyde Drexler, an exciting NBA player, and yeah.
Well-deserved Hall of Famer.
100%.